guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you haven't been here before. I'm Erin, and for today's video I'm going to be doing another movie review. Now, my last movie review was on The Greatest Showman, and I know I had mentioned in there that I really didn't even want to watch that movie. The whole purpose of me renting a movie that night, I really wanted to watch Winchester, which is a scary movie. Now, the reviews on this weren't so great online, so I was a little bit hesitant to rent it, but I decided to go ahead and do it anyway. And I figured I'd go ahead and do a movie review as well. So this movie is about the Winchester Mystery House, which is in San Jose, California. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, the house was built by Sarah Winchester, who is the heiress of her husband's fortune. He owned, along with his father, I believe, I could be wrong on that part, but I definitely know he did. He owned Winchester Repeating Arms Company, which is old rifles. In fact, I still think they make Winchester rifles. Now, the Winchester Rifle Company actually still does exist today, but they're manufactured under U.S. Repeating Arms instead of Winchester Repeating Arms. Now, as I said, Sarah Winchester was the heiress to her husband's fortune. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about the house itself, because I'd actually like to do another video just on the Winchester Mystery House itself. But I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. Pretty much, Sarah inherited this fortune, and she started building rooms onto their sprawling mansion that was in San Jose, California. This was in the early 1900s that this happened. So, if you've heard about the Winchester Mystery House, it is called the Mystery House because it has things like staircases that go to nowhere and doorways that open to nowhere. Like you open up the door and you could fall down to the next story because they just open up to thin air pretty much. And the reason why Sarah made this house so crazy was that she would hold seances, and she believed that the spirits or ghosts of the people who were either hurt or killed by Winchester rifles were telling her how to build this house. And she was doing this in order to appease them and show how sorry she was that these rifles and guns had caused them harm or harm to people in their family. So she pretty much was trying to make them happy in order for them to leave her alone. So, getting back to the movie, pretty much what this movie is about is there is a doctor who is summoned by the lawyers of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company to go and have him, he's a psychologist, go and have him evaluate Sarah Winchester to see if she is sane or not, because she's doing all these crazy things to this house. So the psychologist is Dr. Eric Price, and he is played by Jason Clarke. Now, Dr. Price is kind of a seedy, shady guy, and we start off with him having a few ladies of the night in his house entertaining him, and we find that he's kind of like a troubled soul, and there's obviously something that has gone wrong in his life. So one of the lawyers comes and asks him to go evaluate Sarah Winchester, and he eventually gives in because these people are offering him $600 to go do this, which is a lot of money back then, and apparently he needed it for his own needs because he was running out of money. Maybe he shouldn't have been playing around with those ladies of the night and he'd have some extra change hanging out. So he gets to the mansion, and the carriage driver is explaining to him that construction goes on at this house 24/7, which was the truth when she was having this house built. He is met up by Sarah Winchester's niece, who is Marion Marriott. That's pretty funny. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. Anyway, Marion Marriott, who is played by Sarah Snook. And also, Sarah Winchester's nephew, who is the son of Marion, is Henry. And the little boy who plays that is Finn. I cannot say his last name. It's Cicluna O'Prey, it looks like. So that is her little boy. And we start off with him meeting Marion, and she's kind of a snooty person who is telling him that he has to obey her Aunt Sarah's rules, and she has all these rules. and she smells alcohol on him, and she's like, you better freshen up before dinner because she'll be able to smell that. Anyway, to make a long story short, he ends up meeting Sarah Winchester at dinner that night, and he finds that she's very eccentric. She comes in and she has on pretty much, it looks like funeral clothes with a black veil over her face, and that's how he meets Sarah Winchester. While he's getting ready for dinner, there's some jumpy moments in there, and I found that throughout the movie they did the classic horror thing where they like use mirrors where you know that something is going to show up in these mirrors, and lo and behold, they did that a couple times throughout this movie where he would move a mirror and there would just be a scary person hanging out either in the mirror or behind the mirror, and you'll understand what I mean if you watch the movie. And there were definitely, like I said, several parts like this in the beginning, which stuff like that creeps me out, so I thought this movie was going to be incredibly creepy. Anyway, as we go on in this movie, we find out the whole story about how Sarah is communicating with the dead, and that's why she's building the house the way that she is. And she ends up talking about how once the spirit's room is built and their soul seems to be at rest and they can move on, then she pretty much starts from scratch with a different ghost or spirit that's coming through. Now, there are ghosts and spirits who are angry with her, and it takes longer, and what she ends up doing with them is sealing them into a room with, I think she says 13 nails is what will keep them in the room. So she has several rooms that are nailed off. And one room that draws Dr. Price's attention is the garden room. Dr. Price has lost his wife because of a Winchester rifle, and I won't go too much into that, but suffice to say that he hears his wife talking in the garden room, which is a room that is sealed off. So he's trying throughout the movie to get into the garden room. Now, as I said, I thought this movie was going to be very creepy. I made the mistake of watching it at night, so I thought I wasn't going to be able to sleep all night. Well, like I said, initially this movie started off creepy, and then it kind of petered off for me to where it was just kind of cheesy. So eventually what we find out is Henry is being affected by a very strong spirit that's in the house. He's pretty much being possessed by him. And Dr. Price saves him on one occasion while he's possessed by this spirit. And Sarah Winchester is telling Dr. Price, who by the way doesn't believe in ghosts at all, so he does think that she's kind of crazy. But she is telling Dr. Price that this spirit is strong and she has to find a way to communicate with the spirit and seal the spirit into a room. Well, what goes on from there is we find out that this angry spirit is a Civil War soldier who ended up, both of his brothers were killed by the Winchester rifle. So he went on like this mass killing spree himself with Winchester rifles and then ended up committing suicide. So obviously part of the memo in this movie is about gun violence, which is all fine and dandy. I have no problem with that. Because actually, the whole thing with the Winchester Mystery House was how regretful in real life Sarah Winchester was because of these people who had died at the hands of what pretty much made her the equivalent of a millionaire back then. She was one of the richest people, one of the richest women in the world, and this is something that tormented her in her later years. So that really wasn't too far off with the gun violence thing and her opinion on the rifles themselves. I will say that I'm happy with this movie. I know that gun violence is a very big thing in our country right now, and it could have been just a PSA on that in general. And while it was definitely a heavy theme in the movie, it wasn't overbearing to me, so I didn't mind it so much. I get that movies are a platform for like directors and producers and what have you to push their own beliefs off on other people, but whether I'm on board with their message to other people or not, I don't like it when people try to shove their ideas down somebody else's throat. So like I said, the message was there, but it wasn't overbearing, so I was okay with it. Anyway, So as the movie, heightens up, the whole idea is that they are trying to get Ben, the Civil War ghost, sealed into a room, and all sorts of crazy stuff happens. All the rooms that are sealed end up becoming unsealed, and we see some of the stronger spirits that are in the house that are still angry and have issues. This includes the garden room ends up being unsealed, and this is where Dr. Price goes, and he ends up meeting with his wife. I'm not going to give away the whole thing, but he ends up meeting with his wife, and this is where he becomes a believer of the spirits, because up until this point he kind of thought it was like a smoke and mirrors thing. So once he truly believes, he can see all the spirits in the whole mansion, which is what Sarah has been trying to tell him he needs to do, and that he will eventually do, in order to believe her. Trying to keep this video a little bit on the shorter side without going too far into detail. In any event, toward the end of the movie, of course, the angry spirit ends up getting sealed in the room. They find a way to get rid of him. Henry and Marion are saved. Sarah Winchester is saved. However, the mansion is pretty much destroyed, which is not true at all in real life. That did not happen. The ghosts did not wreak havoc in the mansion and make it fall apart. That was all a part of the movie. But as I was saying, it went from being creepy to cheesy to me. And what I mean by it was cheesy is it kind of went off in a direction, like, I feel like they could have done so much more with this movie to make it so much better. And I think they were on the right track, and then it just kind of got away from them. It went from your classic creepy, like, making you jump type of thing to just being about this angry ghost, which I get. And I think you just have to watch the movie to understand what I'm saying when I say it's cheesy. It just became kind of hokey to me about them trying to get this bad ghost sealed up, and the way they went about it with, like, essentially having him destroy the mansion with, like, earthquake stuff, and I don't know, it was just weird to me. I think that they could have done it in a different way that was a little more eerie. I know that some people didn't like this movie, but The Lady in Black, I thought that was a really good movie, and I'll probably do a review on that as well. And I think that that kind of stayed true to the whole old, I don't want to say old school, but like the classic horror movie where it's just creepy throughout the entire thing. Of course, at the end of the movie, they leave it to where there could possibly be a second movie. And I hope that if they do decide to make a second movie, that they stick with the way that the movie went in the beginning, with it just being creepy and giving you the kind of like make you jump scare factors, as opposed to just being a zombie-looking angry ghost stomping around and yelling obscenities to Sarah Winchester because he's pissed off that the Winchester rifle hurt his brothers, which I get. I would be upset about that too, but it's just the way it was done that it was kind of like, I don't know, kind of reminded me of the Hulk when he gets mad. But yeah, so for this movie, if I were to give it something out of 10 stars, I'd give this movie like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 stars. It wasn't terrible. I can't say that I'd probably watch it again, but it was definitely not great to me either. So that's why I'd give it like a 6 or a 7. And like I said, the reviews that were on like Rotten Tomatoes and all these different movie sites, they weren't so great, so I knew that it kind of probably was not going to be the best movie, but there's other movies that have been on there that they've said are crap that I enjoy, so I figured I'd give it a shot anyway. And it wasn't, it wasn't terrible, just wasn't great. Alright guys, so that's it for this movie review. If you liked it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and let me know if you want to see some more. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to be notified for when I have new videos, make sure you click the little bell next to the subscribe button, and that will let you know every time I upload a new video. Until next time guys, I'll see you later. Bye!